Yo, bro, yo.
I'm busy throwing Bowser into a bomb. What is it?
Dude, bro, there's this sports game, dude, bro.
Yeah, the Mario Soccer one?
No.
Then I don't care.
Come on, bro. Real sick,
As you
bro.
can see, folks, we're
Does it
all
have
dressed in
any
spooky Halloween
link?
costumes this year. Video game fanatics!
Metroid.
Put your pedal to the metal and let's have some fun
I'll
talking about some
even
things
take
we
a
have pretty
technical
much no
fun.
authority on. It's a race towards the absurd on today's Music Arcade!
Said, I'm in Mario.
Come on, bro.
Hello everyone, welcome to Music Arcade. I'm Galen, the SoundGuy Firestone.
I'm Ranakel and this is my first sport impression.
And I'm Eddie. I'm not gonna do that dude bro voice for this episode. Sorry.
Yeah. So, this was one of these, like, napkin thought ideas that we had. Where we decided, you know, it's Halloween, and we could do the obvious thing of getting spooky, but, like, come on, that's been done. What else is Halloween? Halloween
Including done by us kind of 2 episodes ago.
Kind of, but Halloween has
In
never really
some
been
ways.
scary.
Yeah, but it is horror themed.
Let's be
it's
honest. The
in
first two
vicinity.
options for when we talk about games in Halloween, the first two options are number 1, horror games. Number 2, Castlevania. We did the number 2. Number 1 is too obvious. We went for an alternative.
Right, so I'm like, wait a minute, what about a bunch of adults going to Halloween parties? And, you know, dressing up as whatever and having fun and chilling. So that's kind of where I went with it, and then Rana added the structure, which I think worked out really well. We will see
Yeah.
if the episode does as well. This is kind of an experiment for us, though not as experimental as our April Fool's episode.
Also,
basically-
unlike a normal adult Halloween party, there is going to be a lot less alcohol involved.
Says
Basically,
you.
Galen came up with the idea. Rana came up with the structure, and I just came up with some crappy jokes because that's what I do best.
Cheers.
Some entertaining ones.
We
As I
each have
toast my
very
entirely
well-defined
non-alcoholic
roles.
Gatorade.
Yes.
All
I'm
right.
toasting my bottle of water here, so you know.
So we have, among our disguises, our costumes that we put on, I'm playing the racing game guy, which in retrospect may have been a mistake on my part, because I was woefully unprepared for this one.
You wanna talk about mistakes? I am the sports dude, bro. Anyone who knows me knows I am exactly 100% not a sports dude, bro. I play a total of 0 sports game, and even among the games I'm bringing up today, I've played one of them, I own another, and the one I've played has been for like 15 minutes at a time.
And given that racing is a sport, we can all agree that sports as a concept were a mistake.
Correct.
Anyway, I took the Nintendo fanatic that has no other point of reference than Nintendo published games. Or Nintendo developed games, even.
So, yeah.
I'm the guy who like in Discord servers that have a sports channel. I'm the one who goes, go team, go sports ball.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Markiplier has a podcast, I believe, called Go, My Favorite Sports Team, which is geared towards, you know, listeners like yourself.
you know, I'm gonna say something that might get some people pissed.
Uh-oh.
But when Germany won against Brazil 7-1 a couple years back on the World Cup, a lot of Brazilians cried. I was one of the Brazilians who laughed my ass off because the memes were amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
there
level
you
of
are.
sports follower I am.
I was
The
at...
meme game was very strong.
I actually watched that game. I don't watch sports, like, at all, except if it's, like, mixed martial arts. I actually was in Las Vegas at the Burger Bar watching that game happen live. And I'm just like, this is incredible. I've never seen a soccer game where a team gets dunked on this hard.
Yeah, and like, there were more than 2 points during an hour and a half, so that was certainly more than American sports speed. Baseball notwithstanding, of course.
I don't know, baseball can get pretty spicy. Speaking as a lapsed Yankees fan, but, yeah, no, soccer is very well known to be a low-scoring game, and seeing that much goal action happening, I fear the South American, commentators who tend to stretch out the word goal for the next 15 minutes were probably, like, suffocating to death.
I can tell you the Brazilian guys were just shortening it more and more and more as it went on because, they were scoring against us, so...
Speaking of suffocation, you know what's also bad for your breathing? The thin air in high altitudes.
I knew that's where you were going. Good job.
Thank you.
Tell us about Steep, Eddie.
So yeah, we're as Galen said, we have a structure to this one. We're starting with more chill tracks, and this one is from Ubisoft Steep, which is ostensibly an extreme sports game, but is more
Never heard of it.
it's more of an exploration open world thing because Ubisoft. But yeah, if anyone was somehow fooled by the intro where I sounded not really like a sports dude bro at all, this track should probably convince you that yes, it is I. This song is very much a me thing. It is chill as hell.
This one has a good vibe. I like the strings a lot. Like, I say that a lot. I like good strings. I didn't get a chance to listen to this one as much as I would have liked. It is definitely more atmospheric, so it was hard for me to really make notes on it. But yeah, if you want a chill track, this is it. Do we know where in the game this actually plays?
I have no idea.
Yay!
So, you said it was a sports game. I'm trying to understand what kind of sports? More like team sports or?
It's from what I understand, it's a solo game, and you can basically swap your gear across, I believe, 4 sports, which are the ones in the cover. Snowboarding, skiing, I forget the name of the other 2.
Oh wow, okay, so that's a mix of Pilot Wings and 1080 snowboarding made as a ripoff, okay.
Yes. I think that's a good way to put it. What little gameplay I've seen, it's sort of like, I guess you would call it exploration sports, because it is like, you climb up on a mountain and then you snowboard down, and that's your sports aim, that's your race. I was actually vaguely interested in this one, but like usual, it was Ubisoft and thus DRM and thus Denuvo, which will make my computer more difficult to deal with, so I never hit the button on it, but I was always, like, somewhat interested.
Yeah, I believe I have it. I think I got it for free during one anniversary celebration by Ubisoft, but I haven't played it because, again, I am not exactly a sports guy, so you know. But the soundtrack is, from what I've heard, it's pretty cool. This song in particular, as always, I really dig the steel drums. I'm not sure whether these are hung drums or not.
Right.
If they are, kudos, because I love those. And the strings, of course, also, as Galen said, pretty damn good. So.
Okay, little bit of a role-playing pause because I was searching the game and I just typed Steep in order to check if it released on the Switch and to make a pithy remark about it before putting my actual impressions on the music. So I just typed Steep, and literally the first thing Google tells me is, this search may be relevant to recent activity. Steep, Switch.
Well, there you have it.
They're listening to us way too fast.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so it didn't come out on the Switch, so I'm not that interested anyway, but if I were, I suppose that that tone of music really helps underline the experience of sitting atop of a peak and kind of dominating the scenery in a way only the mountaintops allow you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very nice contemplative experience.
I don't want to ask for a pause again, but I'm gonna have to. It says it came out on PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and the Amazon Luna. The hell is that?
Oh, that's a streaming Amazon service that has been completely undermarketed and is doomed.
Okay, so
it seems like it's their
Stadia, but
answer
worse.
to Stadia. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, back into the episode. Sorry, I just found that info on their website.
Yes. But like, I was at the end of my remarks, so you didn't interrupt much on my end.
I think Galen was gonna say something.
I didn't really have much to add. It's just as I was going to agree with Rana that, you know, it does really give that vibe, and this almost at times feels like more of a exploration than a sports track, but that doesn't really mean anything given the nature of the game.
Yeah, I think, again, assuming I'm correctly about the instrumentation, I think hang drums often do give this exploratory in cold environment vibe, at least to me. And I think I've brought up in the past another track that had a similar thing going on, and it worked there, it works here.
Also, as I believe the only one of us three that went to the real Mont-Blanc, pretty nice area. So, if nothing else, I can see an interest in finding a way to get it in order to bring back some memories of that time I fell and scraped half my face on hard snow.
Ow!
Oh, wait, no, that part wasn't
Ouch.
fun, the memory.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. Owie.
Yeah.
It sounds like you left what was originally a white mountain, a red mountain.
I mean, when you leave a snow vacation, you always leave a little part of yourself over there.
Ouch.
A little more literally in your case than some.
Indeed, which might explain a few things.
Just a little.
It might explain your your first choice, actually.
I wouldn't think it would, because it's just a very good game, but...
Yeah.
So let's talk about Rhythm Heaven.
Let's talk about Rhythm Heaven.
Rhythm Heaven, in particular, I'm talking about the game that is known in the West as Rhythm Heaven and in Japan as Rhythm Tengoku Gold, I believe, which is the DS version.
Okay.
And my introduction to the series, of which this track was the very first track. So this track was my introduction to Rhythm Heaven as a whole, and what a way to introduce you to it. You're just a funny little guy inside a barren, simplified snowscape, and you are punching a variety of items thrown at you, in front of you, to the rhythm of that song, which is just what it lacks for maybe in atmosphere. It makes up in vibes on top of that rhythm components it needs to have as part of a rhythm game.
Right.
I was going to ask about the track's title, but the gameplay kind of explains it.
The track's title
otherwise it's weird.
in itself is Struck by Rain by Tsunku, which is just the artist that works for the series as a whole. Or should I say worked, because unfortunately he had, I believe it was an infection or a cancer that left him healthy, but at the cost of an operation that removed his vocal cords.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Which means that one of the last songs he made, because he made songs outside of those games, but one of the last track he recorded was actually for one of those games, the Switch one, I believe, or the Wii one of the two, which was a funny sumo battling song.
Well, it sounds like he went out on a high note at least.
Yeah. And it's just a very eclectic series that gets weird in a very endearing way. And like, the series itself is more on the weird kind, but that song is just incredibly chill. You just put this on while you're walking down the street, and it's immediately something like a peaceful atmosphere, but still with a spring in your step.
I'm not sure.
Oh, and also there's a Japanese lyrics version, but I picked the English one because, again, that's the one I was introduced to at first.
Totally makes sense.
It's not my style, but I get where you're coming from. I can see how someone who's more into the genre of music would get that vibe from it. It does have
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a music built to be remembered nostalgically 5 years down the line.
I can kind of see that. This has definitely got like kind of a neo-disco thing going on.
Yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't be out of place in like a Persona remix album. I'm not sure about these vocals though. I don't know, something about them. Are they too dry? Is the delay weird? Like I don't know. Something about the vocals just rubbed me the wrong way.
I can see that. There's definitely something. Maybe. Actually, I'm going to give it a brief listen first, because if it's what I think it is. Right. I think one of the possible reasons for the relative simplicity of the vocals is that they had to be compressed to fit on a DS cartridge.
I mean,
Then again, this version doesn't have this problem. I believe that one was for a remix game that came on later.
Yeah, this particular song, like, this doesn't sound DS compressed. This sounds just like the studio version that would get compressed later.
Yeah.
So
But maybe that was something that was taken into account ahead of time. That's the best shot-in-the-dark explanation I got, honestly.
I just think it might be just weird vocal mixing. I think it's just good old-fashioned, like, the mix just isn't quite there.
Very possible as well.
Yeah. I'll be talking about mixing pretty hard later in this. There's going to be one song we're going to talk about where I am going to hit the mixing with a hammer.
It's gonna be fun.
Uh-huh.
Now then, I believe we can move to the next chill track, which is Off to the Races.
Yeah.
From a series I've never heard of myself called Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
It's not on Switch, I'm afraid.
No, unfortunate. I mean, why bother?
Good question. So Gran Turismo, obviously it's one of the big racing franchises. Why did I pick racing games? And I picked racing games
because you and
knowing,
I are idiots.
Yeah. Knowing that Rando was picking Nintendo, which means me picking Mario Kart or F-Zero was a bad idea waiting to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like a racing series could contribute to selling systems. So I don't know what that's about.
Ha. I thought Forza was a Sony exclusive. Isn't Gran Turismo?
No, Forza is the Microsoft-owned one.
Oh,
Gran
I got them
Turismo
backwards.
is the Sony one.
Yep, okay.
Not that I know anything about that.
Sorry, that's my bad. I got them confused, but yes, you're correct. Basically, I found myself scrambling through soundtracks, just trying to find a song that wasn't licensed, because, you know, I'm going to talk about a licensed track later. Spoiler, I just didn't want to fill up with it. And was a song that could actually be chill, because I'm noticing something about racing is it wants to get your blood pumping more often than not. So,
yeah, it went to the point where if I had ever played, say, a series of Microsoft-developed racing games that are more about exploration, hypothetically, I would have, should the soundtrack be lackluster, have made 2 separate soundtracks, one for just chilling around and one for the actual races.
So, hypothetically, should you have played this hypothetical game, what would this hypothetical game be called?
That would have been called Forza Horizon 5.
That's Forza Horizon 5. Got it. Thank you. Hypothetically, of course.
You're welcome. Yes.
Incidentally, you talk about your pains with racing games. Spoiler alert, both of my next couple tracks will be licensed tracks, because sports games do that a lot. And I also had a really hard time. I had a real hard time finding a chill track in a sports game because they want to pump you with adrenaline.
Right, I'm having that exact same problem. Largely because racing is a sport, and therefore, like, we're getting a lot of just thematic crossover here.
Yeah, and it reaches a certain meta level because I think it's easier to go to your Spirit Halloween equivalent and find a Nintendo XP costume than a car costume or a specific sportsman costume.
Pretty much. I should have gone with a Ryu
really,
costume. I'm still kicking myself for just not putting on a headband and a gi.
I should have just cheated
you mean
the
the
whole...
weird OC from Smash Bros. Ultimate?
I should have just cheated the whole thing and went for a horror theme for myself anyway, because that's... I don't play horror games, but I love horror game soundtrack.
You also could have done JRPGs, which is the lowest threshold for you possible, and you would have had a bajillion songs to pick from. I don't know why.
In this Halloween episode, the biggest horror is regret.
I didn't want to go for JRPGs because I didn't want to go for the obvious joke yet. We've been building up the JRPG joke for so long. I want a real good payoff for that thing.
At some point, you gotta hit the button. This felt like it, but okay. You do you.
Besides,
anyway,
that's going to be enough running joke.
At some point, we gotta talk about the song, right? Like, we've totally...
Yes.
Like, this tangent
Especially
is worse
since
than
it's
usual.
really good.
It is a really good song. I stumbled on this one this morning. The day of recording. I'm, like, powering through soundtracks. I'm going through Forza's, and I'm like, Dua Lipa's on here. I don't want to talk about her. Went through this one, I'm like, there's a bunch of EDM. Okay, I can work with this. And then I discovered this one, which is a song called Piano Logic. Or is it a band called Piano Logic? Piano Logic is something involved with this song. The titling is a little awkward.
Cargo.
Called Cargo. Okay.
It's one or the other.
Yes.
Good luck figuring that out, Eddie, when you're going to upload the episode.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I like this one real fast. It's got that, like, synth oscillator opener. I just mentioned the last one sounds like it belongs on a Persona remix album. This one also, but specifically like a Persona 2 remix album.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I
think I don't know what a Persona sounds like. I haven't finished the game that recently released for the first time on the Switch, after all. Crazy that they made an entire game after that one OC from Smash Bros. Ultimate.
You could have played Strikers.
You are going hard on that Halloween costume thing, aren't you?
Thank you.
Someone's got to. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Rana's the funniest one on the team. Let him do the jokes.
I have never played a sports game in my life, pretty much, allegedly.
Back to the track. Yes, I think that it's really got that nice feel of just walking into a luxury car concession. Kind of that point where it's halfway between engineering showcase for nerds and fashion designer applied to automotive design.
I was going to ask where it plays, but I know the answer is probably I have no clue. So why
picked it
bother
randomly
asking?
off of a YouTube playlist. It plays in a YouTube playlist. That's the best I can give you.
Like my first pick.
I would guess shop.
It sounds that way, doesn't it?
What I was gonna say, it does sound like it's either some sort of shop or some menu where you choose settings and cars and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds great for that. It sounds pretty on point.
Actually, comment section suggests that it's a reuse of a track that first was used for Gran Turismo 5,
Cool.
on which it was a main menu theme.
Main menu theme. Okay. So we were right. It's not an actual racing track, but it's still got the whole, like, you gotta select stuff thing going on. Because you're going to, in your main menus, be selecting probably your vehicle and your parts. I assume.
And it makes a ton of sense for a racing game that, like we said, gets you blood pumping, like you're racing about to get to the finish line, and there's a blue shell behind you, and suddenly
As you do.
Everything gets to a stop, and you get a moment to breathe. It's nice that they have tracks to do that. I wonder how that game handles power-ups.
The beat, the beat that goes in there, there's a driving beat there, but it gives it a nice vibe without being, like, overpowering.
Yeah, it kind of just makes the track keep going instead of making it feel stale.
Yeah.
But it doesn't overpower anything. It just makes it more of a... gives a feeling of motion, let's say.
Yeah, which is, valid for a racing game.
Of smooth motion.
I lucked into this one. This was a good stumble, but this one's gonna end up on my playlist. I like this one a lot. And now, we go on...
For something you're going to like a little bit less.
Unfortunately, yes.
So it's time for our It Goes Hard section of the episode. And it wasn't very easy to find what I see as tracks that go hard in sports games, because I am a metalhead, so for me to consider something as going hard, it's a very niche thing at my point. So I went with Slayer, who surprisingly have a track on the game Skate.
I mean, that makes sense. The skating community is largely associated with punk and even hardcore punk, and Slayer, out of the thrash metal bands, is probably closest associated with hardcore punk.
Like, there's that, but there's other branches that
probably make more sense.
Basically, there's different kinds of genres association.
From what I understand, Skate also has like hip hop tracks, and it does have punk tracks. It feels like it might have something like the GTA system, where you have radio stations or you choose the genre or whatever. I'm not sure.
Basically, it just sounds like they're hitting
works,
the counterculture button and just going from
pretty
there.
Much.
Yes. And I mean, if you're going to rebel against your mom because you're 16, might as well take a skateboard and listen to Slayer.
Sure.
And I believe Galen has something to say about Slayer.
They suck, is what. And I just pissed off a lot of metalheads, but oh my god.
Wanna know a funny thing? There's this band I listen to, which is actually a punk band called Blood Command. And I can't remember the title of the track in question, but they have a track from the album Cult Drugs, where the track is about the whole gatekeeping thing that goes on in like high schools and middle schools of like, oh, you're a poser, you don't really like this stuff. And one of the lines from that song is literally, you don't like Slayer, you just like the logo. And I listen to that and I go, yeah, I do. That's right.
Yes.
That's a correct assessment of myself. I don't like Slayer, I like the logo. Thank you very much.
I'm also a big metalhead, and I listen to 3 out of the 4 big thrash bands. I listen to Metallica, I listen to Megadeth, I listen to Anthrax. I keep trying with Slayer because they're like this sacred cow in the metal community. Like, you're not allowed to talk trash on them. And me, I'm just like, I have yet to hear a single Slayer song I even remotely like. They're the Ariana Grande of thrash metal. They just do not put out good music that everybody likes for some reason.
I'm pretty sure that the Big Four is actually a reverse version of the Three Musketeers. You know, because the Three Musketeers are actually 4. I think the Big Four are actually 3.
Yeah. I would actually say it is Big Four, but instead of Slayer, you put in Exodus. But that's a whole other conversation that's not relevant to this at all. But like, yes, the song, you know, it has that famous riff. Its mixing is garbage. This mix is terrible. It's like not even 2-inch tape bad. Oh yeah, you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Like, one of my notes. Metalheads are gonna love this. People who like music history are gonna love this. Who played bass on this track? Jason Newsted?
Oof.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I couldn't hear the bass guitar at all. It was gone.
Yeah, I was going to say after a quick listen and everything that I get the feeling that there's an impact somewhere that has been taken behind the shed and offered a vacation to a farm upstate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Tom Araya is also just not a good singer. Like, I don't like Dave Mustaine's voice for Megadeth, but he can hold a tune. Tom Araya is just sort of grumbling into the microphone. And, like, it does have kind of that punk edge to it, again, which is why you associate Slayer with hardcore punk as well as thrash. But, like, I'm going to be talking about a punk song later where the lead singer could absolutely sing. So, I don't know. This one just bothers me. This whole band bothers me. This song bothers me. The pick doesn't bother me. It's a good pick for, you know, going hard for a sports game. Big thumbs up there, but man, does Slayer suck. Rant over. Go on. I'll shut up now.
I mean, you said pretty much anything I had to say, because, like, again, I picked this song because I went, well, crap, what goes particularly hard when you're already a metalhead? And this popped up and I went, okay, good. I have a pick. I have something other than zero.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know. But yeah.
Well, there wasn't any Mario skating game, so no comments from me here.
Oh, I don't know why I thought
just...
Mario Strikers was a skating game for a second. That's a soccer game. What the hell's wrong with me?
It does use the skating imagery for some reason.
It does. I think that's why. I think that's why my
brain. It's more a follow-up to a very Ink-like strike that they released for the first one and decided to keep because it's pretty. I mean, it leaves a mark.
That's fair. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that we can end the discussion on Slayer by again quoting the band Blood Command and saying, "You don't really like Slayer, you just like the logo." Yes, that's us. Thank you.
My favorite meme of all time, it's like the only meme I ever liked, is a picture of a vacuum with Slayer's logo behind it. My mom named her vacuum Slayer because it's been around since 1982 and has sucked the whole time. And I'm just like, that speaks to me in my heart.
Fair. That's fair.
Sorry to filibuster your song.
No, just having some fun listening to you rant. I'm just disappointed that I don't have popcorn here.
Anyway.
If we could give thumbs up to other people speaking in real life, I would be giving a thumbs up like underneath your chin right now. Yeah, I agree with this.
Oh God! All right, thank you.
Yeah,
I guess we're in the Orville now.
Yeah, we're both about to be ostracized from the metal community. That's gonna be fun.
Honestly, like, I feel better now that Floor Jansen has actually come out and said she doesn't like Slayer.
I like her more now.
Right?
Well, anyway, Rana, what did you pick for the goes hard part?
I didn't pick Slayer, that's for sure.
Good, thank you.
Instead, I went with a remix of the Airship theme from Super Mario Bros. 3. I went in particular with the one that is used in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and that was reused then for Ultimate, because every single track in Nintendo's history, and then a few hundred more, is in Ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a track that has this kind of about as dark an atmosphere as you can make on a NES chipset.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't really go hard on the original, not when you compare it to, like we've mentioned, some Castlevania tracks. That's very much not on that level, I would say. But this arrangement, maybe you've looked for the bass instrument, you look for a strong chord to elevate the rest of the track. I think Motoi Sakuraba stole that previous tracks and added it to this one, because those drums in particular go hard.
Yeah, when I saw this, when I was listening to this during the initial listen through, I actually looked at the page, I saw who arranged it, and I literally just asked Rena, did you pick this one on purpose? Because we even managed to get Sakuraba into this episode somehow.
Yes. Not only that, but you asked me that as I was watching in silent a stream of somebody playing the latest Star Ocean.
Right.
The way things are going, year 3 of Music Arcade would just be the Motoi Sakuraba's podcast.
I'm going to be honest.
I have a type, you know?
Oh. That's a good point. We are talking about one of the most prolific artists in all of video game music. This guy is almost literally everywhere.
Never heard of him. It's not like we've brought him up on the podcast before.
Just consider yourselves lucky I didn't somehow find a way to bring him up for the Castlevania episode.
Right? Didn't we we did bring him up in the following episode. I think it was for not playing though, so I don't think that counts.
Yes.
Either way, anyway, so I would actually disagree with the statement, going back a little thing that you said. You said that the original SMB3 version didn't go hard. I think it went very hard. It just went sort of an intense hard instead of a fast hard.
It went,
I
meant mostly that as a point of comparison. It's not the kind of track I think of when I think tracks that go hard.
Yeah.
To borrow a phrase that I just saw someone saying it earlier today, the original version of this track pretty much goes... it is as heavy as a full Costco grocery bag. It's a heavy track for the NES.
Yeah. But yeah, this remix happened, and Sakuraba's all over it, and you want it to go hard, get, the premier progressive rock guy.
Yeah, first there's, I've said, the percussions, which is why that track was so impactful in some of the Smash Bros. Trailers. And then the time for the trailer is over because it's not the full track, and basically it's okay, trailer time over, time to Sakuraba it up.
Yup.
And then several organs died.
He even puts in a drum roll. There's a timpani drum roll in there going into the bridge where he's just keyboarding the shit out of everything.
But yeah, so that one, if I were to maybe point something that isn't the best, it's that the fact that it varies so much between its aspect isn't really ideal for being used actually in-game inside of a fight, where the variations in tone and intensity don't really gel with the continuous action. But while it feels more like a compromise, because its primary use, I feel, is one as a trailer track, and two as a boss battle against Giga Bowser. And and then they just decided, well, the track's already in the game, might as well keep it, and if you want to use it, use it. I'm not your mom.
That's fair. I mean, this is one of these weirdo Sakuraba tracks, because I feel like we're kind of in low-tier Sakuraba land, but the bones that the song is built on are so strong that it still comes out as good. Because I don't think any of his contributions really do anything to the song itself, outside of specifically arranging, which the arrangement's great.
We need to build a Sakuraba scale. This is like lower level on the scale.
This is like a 4. It's like a 4 on Sakuraba scale.
This is low to mid Sakuraba.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep a visit to Tearmaker in mind.
Oh god. That's
going to
be
a long list.
It's going to be a very long
list.
That's going to be our second anniversary special, isn't it?
You know,
it's
maybe.
Coming soon, actually. It's coming soon.
Oh, wow,
you say that like it's going to be a long-term goal, but no, it's in like a month and a half.
We will. I didn't realize it was sneaking up on us that fast. We will have to actually talk about that. We are changing the subject now. I like this song. I don't love it. The keyboard bridge does just go completely insane, as Sakuraba's wont to do. It doesn't really add that much. It's just sort of like, here, have a bunch of keyboard. Enjoy. Like, thanks.
Yeah, I think I preferred the original to this one, or maybe the SNES version for the All-Stars re-release.
Yes, I would say that's more likely.
Yeah.
Because the original, it shows its age, I'm sorry. Maybe it's because I was more a Super NES kid than a NES kid, but it shows its age.
Fair. I have always liked it. It's one of the few original NES tracks that I really dug, but the Super Mario All-Stars version is definitely the stronger one, and this one has its moments.
This one
like
does it justice.
It does, for the most part. It does. That Sakuraba bridge, man. Just nah. That's just like, why are you here?
Now then, let's move on from the airship to the canyon.
Oh,
Drums.
God, the memories.
So,
Yes.
This one, I didn't pick this at all. This was a recommendation from Rana, in fact.
Oh god, the memories. I've played this game.
Oh,
Ask
you have.
and you shall receive help.
You did,
And
and thank you.
And it's a game that more than one person played, so bonus points.
Right?
I fell so much into the canyon to this track in the background.
Well, I'm afraid I've never played it. Shocker.
Yeah.
But, man, so this one's got a lot of taiko drums. And here's a comment that I made, and I quote, "I feel like I'm about to fight the Harkonnen."
Oh.
This has got some...
If
That
the
went in a
Harkonnen,
direction I did not expect, but
Right?
that I fundamentally appreciate.
I mean, if the Harkonnen is your nickname for the game physics, then yes, you are going to fight him.
Well, I was thinking specifically of Denis Villeneuve's Dune movie, part 2 of which is coming out next year, I think.
Excuse me, I believe you mean Denis Villeneuve.
Yes, thank you. I did white boy all over that one, and I do apologize. He's a really good director. I like him. He made Ryan Gosling tolerable in Blade Runner 2049. And he has this, like, brutalist streak to him with his work.
Let me just note down, we lost the Slayer fans, we lost the Ryan Gosling fans. Do go on.
Well, we're not going to lose the Dune fans, because I actually really liked that movie, and I really like the soundtrack to the movie, and this song sounds like it would fit very well in that movie, despite being more Japanese than Arabic. It's just got that brutalist energy to it.
Yeah, it feels like a raw duel, which makes sense given the context this track is used in.
Yeah, but for context and to explain my sudden PTSD flashbacks at the start, this plays in duels you have where you need to beat another racer to gain control of their territory or something like that. And those duels are at the verge of a canyon, and those signs do not stop you. They break and you fall. As I
so
did.
it's got this high tension, but there's two elements I believe that really adds to it. One is that there are inspirations there, in particular Japanese theme while running down a mountain at top speed with heavily drift-centric tracks. That is Initial D, and the inspiration here is very much written all over it, although they obviously went with a different musical direction.
I hadn't made the connection, but you are right. That is very Initial D.
Yes. And I think the most important part of the duel isn't anything that happens on the track. It's that on the top left corner, there is the face of the guy you raced against that occasionally taunts you. Like every time he takes you over, he's like, ha 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 ha, with his annoying grin. And he also gets super salty when you start winning, and it's great. It really feels like a proper intense duel between two persons that just so happen to be in a racing game. Also, I heard it's not on a Nintendo system. Also, reading some comments a bit at random, apparently that's the guy who also composed the Netflix Castlevania series.
Wait, what?
Apparently?
Oh, that's awesome.
So it turns out the continuity is maintained.
Yay!
Also, the guy is named Trevor, so that's double Castlevania points.
Yeah, let me just double check that.
Yes.
Because I want to make sure. Need for Speed Carbon, original music. Trevor Morris, yes, it's the guy from the Netflix Castlevania.
There it is.
Like, his first name is Trevor, like Trevor Belmont. His second name is Morris, like Quincy Morris from the Dracula novel.
Yeah.
And he made the soundtrack to the Castlevania Netflix series.
This guy's got vampires all over him. Is he part Romanian?
I don't think so, but who knows?
Anyways,
he's made Dragon Age Inquisition. He has a few credits. Yeah.
I was not expecting a Western composer, gotta be honest. With all these taiko drums, I'm like, this is so Japanese it hurts. No, it's
Yeah, and they license Japanese artists as part of the soundtrack. Not only, but a heavy part, so they could have went for Eastern Road, but honestly, if the result is like that, they made some right choices.
They did.
Clearly.
Yeah, this song is really...
You first. To go first, or...
You first.
I mean, this composer is kind of known, actually, for doing a lot of TV stuff based around multiple cultures and movies as well. Because he has credits... I won't list everything, but just a few. He's credited with the soundtrack to The Tudors, The Pillars of the Earth, The Borgias, Vikings, the follow-up Vikings Valhalla, Castlevania, the anime, among a lot of other stuff. So
yeah, he's on a world tour.
Apparently. Yeah. I haven't edited him, but it sounds like I may in the future, the way my career is.
Yeah.
That's really wild. Now, this guy's actually, like, in my wheelhouse, and I've just never run across this dude. Well, I'm running across him now, and he's really good. This song goes really big for a song that's almost nothing but drums. Flutes do show up occasionally, but this thing's like 85% drums.
Yes.
And even then, the flutes are generally played in a rhythmic way, so it's all about, like, hitting that rhythm, hitting that beat. It reminded me of Yoshitaka Hirota, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, that much, huh?
It did put that song in my head, yeah.
I think part of it that may contribute is the fact that the song in the preview version that I shared is spliced from musical phrases that had to be pasted together. That's why there's some very abrupt cuts, in particular near the end.
Yeah, I'm sure
because
there's
the
some
track
like
evolves
hard edits.
as the track and the racing situation does.
Yeah. So it seems like that's one of these cases where some poor editor is trying to put together what is effectively a variable mix into a soundtrack version, and that's, never easy.
Yeah.
They did do a pretty good job, in my opinion, because this song, the progression is pretty cool on this I assume album version.
Yeah.
The intensity keeps going up.
And you can feel, since that is actually a track that happens during a race, that there's the fact that it's so drum heavy and so light in other areas is kind of opening the space for the car's motors to take the center stage. Like, that track is listenable as well while you're having blaring in your ears.
Yeah, it will absolutely just hit you as hard as it can, which is... Well, we said we needed to go hard. I think this qualifies.
Yeah.
This was a good one to discover. I'm glad we discovered this one.
And it's just nice to have a track that emphasizes on the duels between the racers. But I heard about another race car driver. His name's Jerry.
Oh boy, that's solid segue. 10 out of 10.
I learned to drift in Mario Kart.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to the weird part of the episode, as if we weren't being weird enough before. And if you were wondering why I chose Skate rather than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater before, wonder no more, because it's Tony Hawk's time, and Primus is in the soundtrack, so that's an obvious pick for the weird block. Discuss.
So once upon a time, there was a program called Winamp. And
what a way to open up.
You'll see.
Here
Winamp,
we go. Uncle Galen has a story to tell.
I'm on board. Go on.
So Winamp had...
Feed me your wisdom.
Okay. Winamp had, basically you could set metadata. It was kind of a very early version of metadata setting for MP3s. And one of the things you could set in the metadata, fake metadata because it really only saved in Winamp, was genre. And one of the genres was just flat out Primus. They had no idea what to make of this band, and frankly, neither do I.
That is
amazing.
fair.
From the
Oh,
album
boy.
Sailing the Seas of Cheese.
Which is very... Primus is
Primus.
definitely like the alternative rock answer to like Frank Zappa or Captain Beefheart. It's got that like outsider music appeal while still somehow making it like relatively big.
You're not wrong. They do make the music like, it sounds half like a joke and half like a work of art, and you are never sure which one it is.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes. It's quirky like that. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they are
Figured you
clearly
would.
very talented artists. They are just weird as hell. Which is clearly the point, right?
Yeah, the bass in any Primus track is usually just top notch.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to Slayer. Hey, shots fired again. But
Oh yeah, no, it carries a lot. Just it really props up the rest of the instrument in a way few bass does.
Yes. And just
like a lot
as
of bass kind of lifts over up, this one propels them forward.
yeah, and again, for some inexplicable reason, this song, among many others, got radio play. I've never played a Tony Hawk game in my life, but I know this song because it would play on KROQ Los Angeles when, radio was a thing that I listened to, which should show you how long and how venerable this song is. And they'd be playing this next to, like, Bad Religion or Everclear.
Yeah, that's a bit of a difference.
It's a bit different.
Yeah, it reminds me of when Todd in the Shadows, the YouTuber, was telling a story about the song Fire by the Crazy World of Arthur Brown, and how basically Jimi Hendrix loved that song and forced every radio station to play it. So they would have stuff like Metallica, Jimi Hendrix, Arthur Brown with his weird psychedelic rock song without guitars, and where it starts with him just yelling fire. So, similar level of weird.
It is a similar level of weird. I would make the argument that Arthur Brown is almost more mainstream than Primus is, but Primus hit it big. Like, this isn't the only Primus song that I heard. Like, they actually had like a pretty sizable following in mainstream rock crowds. So
yeah, I know folks who think Primus is their favorite band, and like, based on the bass line alone, I can see why. I don't agree with it, but I can see why.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. They are incredibly talented musicians.
Okay, I think I have a great comparison point between the two skating-related tracks that have been picked.
Go for it.
Go on.
The Slayer track was a track that would fit best in a video of 3 very try-hard teams that shows their tricks and add a lot of effects to it and try to really make it look super hardcore.
Right.
This track is a complete crash compilation made by very talented people that are just eating crap constantly and having fun while doing it.
That's a wonderful comparison. It also got a song by Unsane stuck in my head, whose video was just people crashing out on skateboards.
Wonderful.
So
I need that video when we're done with the recording.
I will try to track it down. I haven't
it.
watched it in like 20 years.
If there's something rewatching Jackass recently told me, it's that people getting hit in the balls never stop being funny.
Never stops being funny. Never stops being funny. And if there's a song to get hit in the balls to, pretty sure Primus is going to be somewhere high on that list.
Yes.
I prefer not to get hit in the balls, but yeah, sure, why not? So yeah, that's Primus, and we keep talking about the bass and how they're skilled musicians, and I think it's worth bringing it up, better late than never, that the bassist for Primus is actually a dude who is widely known as being an amazing bassist across the rock sphere, that being Les Claypool.
Yeah.
He has another big project. Some people who are into psychedelic rock might be familiar. It's the Claypool Lennon Delirium with John Lennon's son, and he also plays the bass there, and it's really, really good. So shout outs to good bassists.
It's hard to find a really good bassist, because so many bands like ignore or downplay the bass, that when a bassist really shines, that you know they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the name of the bassist is widely known, then usually that's a sign of an amazing bassist.
And with that, we should probably move on to the weirdest song in the goings-on.
I wonder who picked the weirdest song in the episode. Who could it be? Couldn't have been Rana, right?
Hey, look. I know my strengths. So, yeah, Chaos Carnival from Splatoon 3. It's
Wild.
It sure is a song.
It sure is a song.
It does exist. It does exist.
Okay, actually, there's even a little bit of background because basically what's happening in the games is that there's the main mode, the turf war and the story, which have these tracks I've talked about in previous episodes that are pretty energetic, kind of extreme sports-like, ironically enough, and then Splatoon 2 implemented a co-op mode that was basically the Squid's day job. And they completely break the atmosphere of the main game by changing the tone of the visuals, by having your job assignments given to you by an unknown individual that only talks to you through a radio inside a wooden carving of a bear, and you're fighting mutant fishes. And yeah, even when you just enter the job section of the game, you have some simple background tracks that have, well, as simple a background track as a track that has some yodeling in it can be, anyway.
Fair.
And yeah, it all has this very disconnected atmosphere that feels... Basically, it has to feel a weird and unique niche that is somehow a completely different universe than the rest of the game, while still being part of the same meta-universe.
I have
and
one
the result
question.
is weird.
I have one question for Rana.
Yes?
I believe this is either the second or third time that yodeling has been brought up in our podcast. The Alps, they do cross France, don't they?
They certainly do. Hoo-hoo.
Yeah, that explains it.
Now, the weirdest part of those series of songs is probably that one of those tracks was used as part of the very first reveal for Splatoon 3, which was a very strange energy and make a lot of people have a very bad first impression, because you do not get into that kind of track raw as a first look into a game like that.
That's a bit much, yeah.
That's a bold move.
That's... Yeah. I'm not even sure it's bold, it's just questionable.
Very much.
¿Por qué no los dos?
But when you actually get to it, when you actually know what you're getting into, it's neat. I like it a lot.
I am confused by it, which I think is the natural reaction.
It is. But like, it's got that kind of, as the title suggests, carnival-like attitude with kind of a broken air throughout it, almost reflecting the decay of the various oil rigs-like stages you are walking in. There's, in particular, the last part at the end, which follows the efforts of the game because the structure of the track remains the same, and in the last few moments, the track picks up in a very distinctive tone, except instead of being kind of a separate track tagged to it, this time it's just the track that kind of degenerates, accelerates, and then goes completely off as the tape it's played from derails completely.
They execute that well. I just don't think I like what they are executing.
I think this song transcends like or dislike for me. Like, it doesn't matter if I like it. It doesn't matter. It is a force of nature.
It
this
doesn't
song
care
just
whether
has
you
that
like it.
wild viola string to start with, And then it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. Like, it has a section in it I can only describe as Phase 2. Like, not even as if the song itself is a boss battle. Phase 2. All of a sudden, it gets all, like, echoey, and there's bleeps and bloops now, and I don't understand what's happening.
By the way, that's actually what's happening. So clearly, through its chaos, the song communicates that there are multiple waves, and the song evolves as you go through the waves.
Yes. This
It's
song
like
is...
it's speaking a primordial tongue whose individual words you cannot process, but whose meaning somehow you gain through empathy.
That's a good way to put it. And now I'm thinking of that one,
Very
the Next
sci-fi.
Generation episode with the, with that one species that only speaks in, like, weird metaphors.
Who was it?
It was
don't
Picard
remember.
and an alien stuck on a planet, and they were, like, trying to communicate with each other.
I remember.
Yeah.
I just don't remember who was it with Jalad at Tanagra.
Darmok? Is that right?
Yeah, Darmok and Jalad at
There
Tanagra,
we go.
yes.
Yeah, that one.
Also, fun fact, in Lower Deck, this comes back in a very relevant ways.
Nice!
Also, fun fact, I'm actually more of a Star Wars person, so I got nothing here.
And yeah, it also does the tour de force of taking some very, like I said right at the start, carnival-like sounds and somehow not making it sound festive, but just like you are barely trying to make a steamboat hold its fading parts together with pieces of chewing gum and string.
So for my song that goes hard, or sorry, for my weird song, I don't want to say I cheated here, because we talked about the difficulties of
there's
using...
a reason you kind of stumbled and said hard instead of weird.
Yes, this song goes very hard.
I mean, let's be honest, if anyone cheated on the song that goes weird part, that was me by going, well, it's Primus, so, you know, job done.
The song I actually picked is a lot more traditional, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just a punk song.
Yeah.
It's just a 90s punk song. And it's a really good 90s punk song.
It is.
And it is one of the most iconic songs in all of video games. I'm not repeating my April Fool's joke here. I didn't pick this one just because it's a licensed track. I picked this one because it is so intrinsically associated with this particular video game that in a completely unrelated comment, when we were talking about Crazy Taxi, arcade cabinets and 2 Point Campus, my first thought was, and it's not like they're going to have All I Want by the Offspring playing.
Yep. And honestly, if there's one genre where talking about licensed tracks makes sense, it's racing games anyway.
Right.
So no, I wouldn't say you're cheating.
And before I give my opinion, let's just keep tabs. We've alienated the Slayer fan base.
Mm-hmm.
We've alienated the what was the other one?
Ryan Gosling.
The Ryan Gosling fan base. Okay, I don't like the Offspring. That's another one. Okay, checklist done.
Okay.
Yeah,
I quite like them actually.
Same.
I don't like pop punk.
You are
at
allowed.
all.
You are allowed.
Actually, the only band shirt I had for the longest time was this crusty, crumbling, half-destroyed Offspring t-shirt that had that little kid on the swing with a giant roach.
I saw the Offspring live at the Gibson Amphitheater back, I think, when it was called the Universal Amphitheater before it closed.
Outflex me, sure, go ahead.
Oh, I wish I could outflex you on this one. I was actually sick that day and threw up like at Universal City Walk before the show. It was great.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Also, their opening band was awful.
No.
So this was actually kind of down there in my concert experiences.
So you didn't get all you want.
I think they did play it, but I remember they opened with Bad Habit. Anyway, where was I? All right. So in order to, like, so right out of the gate, like, there's that intrinsic just mental connection between this song and that video game. Crazy Taxi, originally, I believe, on the Sega Dreamcast. But then I had to stop and go, wait a minute, is that really racing game? Because you are driving fast. And then I went, yes, absolutely, because despite you having to stop more often than a lot of people would, just given the circumstances, you still are racing a clock to get from point A to point B, very much like old school arcade racers like Outrun.
Which are certainly racing games.
Which are certainly racing games. And then I had to ask myself, wait, would a hardcore race game fan know this song? And I realized yes, because once upon a time there was a friend of mine named Juan, and Juan was this Filipino dude who had like two kinds of games he really liked. He liked Gradius-style hardcore space shooters, and he really liked racing games. He was a Gran Turismo guy, and the two of us would play a lot of Crazy Taxi together on my Dreamcast. So, this one qualifies. And I wanted to talk about it because this is one of the rare cases where a licensed track that was not written with the game in mind. I'm pretty sure neither the band nor the label had the first idea what the hell game this was when they were approached for it. Became, in and of itself, one of the most iconic tracks in all of video games because it is so associated with the game Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, and honestly, when I don't have that arcade experience, but when I listen to this track and when I remember the kind of genre Crazy Taxi would be if it came on a Nintendo system, I think that this whole frantic attitude and that, like you said, part where you just have to start, go fast, stop, with short sprints every now and then, it's very much reflected in this track.
Yeah, and this isn't the only song on the soundtrack. There were 2 Offspring tracks and 2 Bad Religion tracks. This is the only one that really sticks to mind, right?
Well, I can't say I've heard the others.
Exactly. As a song itself, I've called it 2 perfect minutes of punk, and I stand by that. That's a very good song. I know Eddie doesn't like it because he doesn't like the Offspring. It's fine.
I have to confess that the most Offspring I'm listening to this day are a remix from DJ Cumberbund, where it's the Offspring, but it's actually Rasputin from Boney M.
Interesting.
I will note that out of all pop punk bands, the Offspring are probably the better ones in my estimation, though I still don't quite like them, and the start does, it is iconic. It does bring Crazy Taxi imagery to my mind whenever I hear it, but that doesn't mean I like it.
Fair. It's not for everybody. It should also come to light that I listened to this band before the game came out, and I was familiar with the song before the game came out. And I still just automatically associate it with the video game.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I said, and why I emphasize so much the fact that the Rhythm Heaven track I picked was my introduction with the series as a whole, is that first impressions matter a lot.
Yeah.
And some things just take a place in your brain, drop their baggages, and said, yep, that's where I live now.
Yup. So, the fact that Sega was able to make this work as well as they did, I don't know. It's just such a perfect fit of a song, and the song was never meant to be a perfect fit.
Yeah, like you might just think that a licensed soundtrack is an easy way out, but making one that really works It takes talent too.
Music supervision is hard. Like, you can just slap a whole bunch of songs on a radio station and call it a day, but to really curate well, that is a skill in and of itself, and a very difficult one.
Actually, we'll come back to this point pretty soon too.
We will. Does anyone have any other comments on All I Want by The Offspring?
All I want is for Crazy Taxi to come out on the Switch.
That would be awesome, actually.
Yeah, now that I said it.
Yeah, right?
Oh no, the costumes overtaken me.
Oh boy. All I want is to see what you guys have been playing lately.
Music Arcade, now playing. So I only have 2 games this week. I have Arcanist Chapter 10, which is... the music's fine. It's not up to the good stuff standard that I'm used to out of them, but it's acceptable. It's low rent Sakimoto. It's, you know...
It's very solid. It feels like it wants to be important.
Yes. I think it kind of hits that button a little too hard.
That's why I said wants to be.
Yeah, fair enough. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
It's not very memorable.
That's the kind of music that I usually enjoy, because I dig those important and grandiose moments in game soundtracks. This doesn't really do much for me. It's okay. It's
okay,
well
yeah.
executed, but it's nothing special. For Arknights for the Arknight standard, that means it's crap. But as a song, it's okay.
Yeah,
Also, Arknight's excellent at music supervision in a general sense.
it really is. Because they do bring in licensed tracks for the contingency contract lobbies and for their EPs, and the running joke is that Monster Siren Records is like they're a music company that happens to have a game attached, which is not an unfair statement.
Yeah, it's like Arc System works. They release these great metal albums that just happen to come with a Guilty Gear game.
Right? The other game I've been playing is Control. And, gotta be honest.
You started it recently, didn't you?
I did. I finally returned to pick a game. It took this long. I've gotta be honest, this soundtrack is crap. I don't like it. I really do enjoy this game. Pick a game made a return. I finally got started on Control, now that I have a graphics card that can ray trace, so I can get the most out of it. And it is a really fun, really cool game with a really, really just like, what if Trent Reznor had zero talent soundtrack? It's just, let's throw industrial sounds at you. And that's the whole soundtrack.
Ask exactly 2 things.
Sure.
1, you're not on the DLCs yet, right?
I just got to one of them that's like Alan Wake 2, and I'm like, I kind of need to replay Alan Wake.
Okay, that isn't the one that comes to my mind. The second question is, you haven't done the Ashtray Maze yet, have you?
I'm about to go into the Ashtray Maze. I'm looking for the guy that lets me unlock the Ashtray Maze.
Okay. I will say, as someone who has finished the base game and the first DLC, I believe it's called Foundation.
Oh, yeah, I did do the first level of that.
Yeah, I think there's a part in that DLC that is, I believe it's optional, which has a pretty cool synthwave track. I won't spoil the reason why.
Well, I am
was a lot of
streaming
light,
it, so
sorry.
I do have the mute licensed music button pressed, which is good. I love it when games do that and will like have a streamer mode. I really do appreciate that.
Yes.
I think the one on the Foundation DLC was composed for the game. It's actually it's not on the soundtrack, but you can find on the composer's SoundCloud page. And there's another track which is one that I've brought up in an episode that Rana and I did without you about established artists, which is the one from the Ashtray Maze. The Ashtray Maze is the other place where there's a really cool use of music. which I brought up in a previous episode where Ren and I talked about established artists doing music for video game soundtracks
Right.
rather than being licensed to it. So I hope it isn't an issue for your stream because it was made for the game. But it is a really cool song called Take Control. So
That said, two good tracks do not a good OST make.
No.
yeah,
Certainly
the
not.
Unless you're
soundtrack.
Tetris and you have 3 tracks overall.
Yeah, that is where I was going. Because as
Yeah.
someone who has played the game and loves it to death, the soundtrack, I can't remember anything other than the one synthwave track from Foundation and Take Control from the base game.
And it's such a shame because that game has an incredible aesthetic, one of
Oh,
the
it does.
best in the genre, and there are so many directions it could go, whether to underline the more brutalist internal parts of it, or the liminal dreamlike aspects, or even the office building the oldest house nominally is.
Yeah, but as I was...
And instead it kinda leans on just ambient horror stuff.
Yeah, which is funny
pretty
because...
much horror tropes without the jump scares. That's
It
the
really is
soundtrack.
just not a scary game. It's more of a
Yeah.
like psychological thriller than anything else. Like, yes, there's big ugly monsters that I shoot in the face and throw crates at them with telekinesis.
Yeah, I always describe the game as being a Metroidvania with horror imagery,
Yeah.
which is, kind of brings to mind Castlevania as well, but it's a different vein of Metroidvania.
Yeah, this one's more inspired by like 7 and Warehouse 13 and like Canadian
Yes.
sci-fi, but with a veneer of like the sort of David Fincher like
Honestly,
dark.
And it's very
It's-
good at that.
Yes.
it's almost an SCP Foundation fan game without the SCP Foundation. Like they filed off the name, the name tag.
It's definitely got that
They
inspiration.
actually redacted it with a black marker.
Ha.
I got it. But yeah, it's pretty much that. They just replaced SCP with FBC.
No,
And
I
that's
love the
it.
game to death, but it's in that same category as it's in the same category as Horizon Zero Dawn for me, which is this is a wonderful game. Everything about it is awesome, except the soundtrack, which I either don't remember or don't like.
That's fair. My favorite part of the game has always been just the main character, to be honest. So
She's great. Jessie's great.
Yes.
her sarcasm just speaks to me on a personal level for
Mhm.
reasons that you guys probably understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am totally not a sarcastic guy.
At all.
Wait a minute, that was sarcasm.
I have Sherlock Holmes over here.
And that's it
Hey,
for my
Fraud
games.
Detective 3 came out recently.
So, on my end, I've still been playing Destiny 2 because, once you go into one of those live service games, it's hard to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing more to add for now. I'm enjoying the soundtrack still. We should be getting a new season in about, I think, a couple weeks, maybe a month. And
Cool.
with the new season, we should have a few new tracks to go with the seasonal activities. And the other game I've been playing is... have you guys heard of this indie game called Vampire Survivors?
Maybe.
Maybe I've heard of this game that we seem to talk about every week since it's released.
Yeah.
I mean, last time I talked about how they previewed one of the B-sides track.
Yeah, since then, version 1.0 has been released, and we now can hear the other B-side tracks. And they managed to make even the first stage of the game sound pretty cool and pretty fast-paced, which the original track really wasn't.
Yeah, the first was very much an entree.
And now it has a track that really fits the frenetic pace of the game as a whole. So,
Yeah.
hooray!
It's a good song.
That game has a good soundtrack, and it's nice that for the B-sides they apparently went the route of making another composer essentially arrange and get interesting, weird remixes of the original track, which kind of not only pays homage to them and adds some variation, but also adds an additional degree of separation with the Castlevania source material influences, will I say generously, and just pays homage not anymore to simply Castlevania stuff, but to the game's own accomplishments, which it really did a lot with a little.
I mean, hell, the game started with just a lot of, let's call it what they are, copies of Castlevania characters. And
Yes.
now it has a Bayonetta reference. It has two characters who are references, who I'm pretty sure are references to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It has, I think, a cat as a playable character.
Yes, Gato Amari.
It has
No, actually, that's the weapon.
Yeah, I was about to say.
The quadrupedal playable character is Osolemio, the dog.
Right, it's the dog. And
yes, the dog that farts flowers.
And spoiler alert for anyone who cares about the final boss of the game, it's basically all the versions of Death from the other stages forming a Megazord. So the game's gone places.
Did they ever let you refight that? When I stopped playing, and not because I wanted to, just because the move got so weird, that was, you could only do it the once. Did they ever give a replay option on that yet?
I don't know. I'm still catching up on unlockables.
I'm going to be doing that myself in... I keep meaning to. I meant to do it this week, and it just has not happened, but I do need to catch up on the game.
The weirdest part was, after playing another game in the genre, readapting to Vampire Survivors itself.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still catching up on collectibles myself. They did add an endless mode, which just makes so death does not appear if you play on it. And the game just keeps cycling, and every new cycle it gets harder and harder, but for some weapon combos that doesn't mean much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's gotten pretty fun again. When I stopped playing, it was because I was getting tired of the game. At the time I stopped, they had brought in a lot of endgame mechanics, but no endgame enemies. So it was boringly easy. And now it's fun again. So hooray.
Right on.
Now I believe Rana has made a list and checked it twice, so we might be here
Yes.
for a
It's
standoff.
Halloween, not Christmas. What do you think this is, Tim Burton?
Maybe.
And I'm going to start with a track, with a game that doesn't have any track represented in the previews, because I couldn't find any OST on YouTube. But Railgrade is a kind of a supply chain management game with trains that's also retro-futuristic sci-fi, and has all of these clashing aesthetics where you have trains, but you also have space stuff, but you also have like diodes and things that look like an old Apple computer and sound like a typing machine. And there's all of those things that kind of clash together in this weird patchwork of an aesthetic game. The principle of the game itself is pretty fun. I mean, supply management is fun, and it's stage-based, so it's not something that's long-term or endless like an Anno, for instance, or Factorio. It's much more high-score based. and the main menu is just some good dark wave, which doesn't fit any of those aesthetics, and makes me think, like I hinted at before, that sometimes you just can pick a good genre that a lot of people like and put that on your main menu. Moving on, we have then Aslibra, or Aslibra, something like that, which has this very nice vibe of a revitalization of an old Japanese kind of indie or small-sized studio action platformer RPG.
Yeah.
And it's the song in the game itself are kind of forgettable. The boss tracks feel a bit tacked on because it's tracks that go hard point MP3 1, point MP3 2, etc., and doesn't really build up to something. But I can appreciate the opening movie and the track that goes along with it, which has this nice nostalgia-invoking feeling.
Until the
opening
pixels
track
showed up,
reminds
I
me-
listened to that opening theme, and I'm like, is this the opening to an anime, or is this a game? Like, what's going on here?
I was about to
Yes.
say it reminds me a lot of the opening to the anime to Record of Lodoss War.
Yeah, it's got that anime exactly of that era, exactly of that attitude going. And thankfully, the contents and the humor of the game itself is not what we would think today as anime.
Okay.
Overall, it's a good time.
I mean, that's fair enough. I've never heard of this game. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that opening movie, and that opening movie, until the pixel art showed up, I'm like, this just feels like an
I
anime intro.
stumbled upon it by seeing a recommendation in a random image board that had one answer, and decided, I check it out, sure. And it's nice to still be able to have some weird little finds like this one.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Then we have Potionomics, which I have been following for quite a while, and that finally came out.
This is Exceed's
and
newest release,
it's
right?
Great. Sorry?
This is Exceed's newest release, right?
Yes, I believe they are publishing it, yes.
It is a lovely song, I'd say that much.
Yes.
The one you shared is amazing.
The main menu is just this enduring little theme, and then they really emphasize the different character work they're doing, which is why the track I linked is a character theme from one of the first characters you encounter, that is this kind of sewer rat witch ingredient seller person, and that has this kind of I don't want to look like I care about anything attitude to them.
Nice.
And that's why whenever they come out, that very mellow track is kind of setting the scene right away.
I like this song, and I like this song in part that it's entirely live instruments and a live orchestra. And the reason I know that is the video you posted showing everybody actually playing.
Yeah, on the composer's YouTube channel, no less.
Aha. Yeah, this one was very, very, very cool. I like the dark strings elements. I do have a couple of like weirdo.
It's dark, but it's not oppressive
Yeah.
or anything. It's just kind of mellow, like a cloudy day.
One of my comments, and I'm just going to comment on this and we're going to move on. Stop vamping for the camera, guitarist.
That's fair.
Also the first flute's kind of cute. I thought she was cute. The wrench bells. So they had these like not makeshift bells because clearly they were very like tuned, but they had like these a bell setup that was like wrenches sitting on ceramic cups, and hitting them with xylophone hammers, xylophone mallets. That is such an interesting sound, and I like it so much.
If they decided to go with something like this just for the character because of how scrappy they are, that is, I would say, a very good call, given that the result is super fun too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
fun is not the word, but
it's a nice touch. It's a sort of a Bear McCreary style touch, if that is the reason why. Everything else here was like flat out professional instruments, like the violinists, the clarinets. There was a big long shot of the two oboe players. Like, this was just a symphony orchestra being done here.
yes.
And then there was the wrench bells for no reason, which I think are awesome. So I'm not really sure why those are there.
Incidentally, I really like the oboe thing, because I just like the oboe as an instrument, and it's often kind of underappreciated. And here it plays a really cool part, and they showed the guys playing. Like,
yeah,
they are part of the orchestra.
I think reed instruments kind of get a bad rap.
And the tone overall reminds me of Who's of Might and Magic.
Oh, I didn't make that connection, but yeah.
You know, in particular, I'm thinking of the hook which go na 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 na, kinda, which is also the opener for the Elves City, I believe, in 4.
4 was the one I didn't play much of, so I'm going to take your word for it.
Weird gameplay twist, a very good soundtrack.
Fair enough.
Then we have another game I've played that doesn't have any track I put as an example, but I do want to mention that I got back on some Terraria for the latest update that came out. The final, for real this time, final, I swear final, okay, one more final update of this game that is like 12 years old.
I'm sure.
Terraria, if Terraria was by Capcom, this would be like the 4th super hyper turbo re-release.
Oh yes.
This would be that
but
weird,
no, instead
like,
they went
releasing Street Fighter 2 on the Switch moment, right?
Yeah, we're reaching there. We're on the way. This is the Street Fighter 2 Turbo Championship Edition, whatever release. The next one is the Switch re-release.
Yeah. No real news about any track because I haven't reached any of the content that has new music, but Terraria has this peppy, very chiptune soundtrack to it, and it deserves a little reminder that it exists every now and then. Oh yeah, it goes blip and bloop, that's fun. What doesn't go really blip and bloop in a fun way anyway is the Last Spell soundtrack, which instead just takes some very crunchy tones and goes hard in this tactical defense game against all of magical whatever undead.
It kind of reminds me of Das Mortal.
Okay, so help me out here. Remy
Yes.
Gallego, why do I know that name?
Excellent question. I do not know why you know the name Remy Gallego. Let us see what Google has to say.
All right.
Programmer and music composer.
The Algorithm.
There was
That's
Other
it?
Demons, Procord, The Last Spell, Hacknet, Super Mutant Alien Assault, and The Algorithm. Oh, and he has an original album called Boku Infinity. I think that's the artist.
But most of his originals and rest of his work is under the band name The Algorithm,
yeah,
in which there is Polymorphic Code, Octopus 4, Brute Force, things like that.
Yeah,
Maybe I heard
as
of
a
him on a-
composer, he's done Protocore, Hell's Other Demons, The Last Spell, and Hacknet Labyrinth. and Hacknet, the original, and Super Mutant Alien Assault. And then a bunch of stuff as original albums as The Algorithm, and the one that I actually know of, and I wasn't aware it was this guy, which is one where he goes under the pseudonym that I have no idea how to pronounce. I'm gonna go with Fuko Infini, which the title is in Japanese, and it's a synthwave album.
Okay.
Dark wave.
I don't know. I've heard of this guy. Maybe I heard of him on one of my Synthwave playlists or something. Okay. Thank you, I guess. This is a cool song. This one goes hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it really helps set up the fact that when you are fighting off the wave during the night, while the game is turn-by-turn tactical gameplay, it is very intense as well. But it doesn't need some time-dependent event, some real-life time-dependent event, to have an intensity to it.
Right.
And the music contributes to that.
Yeah, the style reminds me quite a bit of Das Mortal, but in my opinion, a bit more fun and interesting. Das Mortal, to me at least, tends to be a bit samey, a bit like there isn't much dynamics in what I hear often from him. This song has that. This song has a sense of movement.
This song goes places, and I appreciate that. Love the guitar pad.
I would even say that it has momentum, which is a mechanic in the game.
Well, there you go.
And that's a pun that we don't get, but maybe some people in the audience will.
I'm thinking of you too.
He explained it, and I think it works fine, so okay.
And then I wanted to mention, albeit briefly, the latest Final Fantasy XVI trailer that has some new music stuff, including a part when that elevates and they show a little of the combat interface against the half icons with that very enjoyable track, High Energy, that I like a lot.
I didn't get that far. I didn't get that far in the soundtrack, unfortunately. I was I was listening to I got like 4 minutes into the trailer and I'm just like, I've got to move on to the next song. This just sounds like a score to me. So
as someone who usually isn't into Final Fantasy aesthetics, I like the look of that trailer. So,
maybe you'll finally give one a shot.
I gave Final Fantasy XIV a shot. I just got a bit distracted with Destiny 2 on the way.
Well, that one has the same composer at least, so you'll have some familiar elements. And it should come out summer 2023, so that's coming up.
So that'll be more like January of 2024.
Business Division 3 tends to be a bit better at that, at setting actual dates.
It's a mainline Square game.
Yeah.
So 2025?
I think 4 is more reasonable. As Rana said, they are better at it than the rest of Square.
And
place
finally,
your bets, audience, place your bets.
And finally, as it came out on the Xbox Game Pass, I decided to finally take my dip in Persona 5 Royale. I don't tend to replay game or re-releases of game much, but 6 years since I played the original, well, more like 5 actually, and I feel like I can just get back into it. And of course I'm not getting to the real juicy new content yet, but they do a nice job at peppering something new every now and then.
Yeah.
And of course there's the change of the ambush theme.
Yes.
With the new one that takes over. And it's a nice... It's got that celebration feel that you did something cool, but it doesn't really gel with me the way Last Surprise did somehow.
I'm inclined to agree. I think Last Surprise is probably the better song over Takeover, but they're both quite good. I just want to give a shout out to Persona 5 Royal. It basically saved my sanity. I started playing that one shortly after the pandemic hit as kind of a comfort food. And yeah, just a big shout out to Royal.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I will say it did a much better job than Persona 4 Golden of including the newer elements into the game. And then I would also like to say it also introduced some characters, like you get cameos from Haru, you get cameos from Makoto before they show up in the regular narrative. So you start to get to know them early, which is nice.
Exactly. It doesn't drop anything on you the way they dropped that Velvet Room girl whose name eludes me right now on Golden.
Marie?
Yes.
Yeah, Marie was not well handled. She was a cool character, but she was not well handled.
Yeah, like, it's no judgment against the character itself, but they were like, here's her, deal with it.
And my usual shilling for Persona 5 Strikers here. Please play that video game. It is incredible.
I will.
Well, I meant that to the audience in general, but I hope you will as well.
There is no universe in which I will not.
And I can't think of a more fitting song to wrap up this episode than one about masks from a game all about
taking them off.
Yep, exactly. And that's it for today's celebrations, folks. As always, you can check the songs discussed and ways to get in touch with us in the episode description. We'll be back with a more relatively normal episode next time.
Does that mean I can take off the football gear now?
Yes, you can. See you guys next time. Have a good one, folks.
Why did I have a helmet?
Wow!